Oh, hey, 9 guys. Hey, guys. So, welcome to stream today. And let me make sure it says day 9 because it still says day 8 on my end. Yep, there it is. Great. All right. Welcome back to the stream, guys. Um, Obviously, it's been a pretty busy week for me, and I'm sure it's been busy for you guys too with back to school and everything. And then you also have to deal with me teaching you at the same time. So, I'm sure we all have a lot to do, but I thank you very much for showing up. Hey, Kai, welcome back. Glad to see you as always. All right, so today is day 9, so I apologize for starting a little bit later than normal. I was on standby for a sub for a Splatoon tournament, and we went all the way to the grand finals where we won. I only got to play in the first round though, so rip that. Oh, there a raid? I'm being told there was a raid. No. Oh, there's bits too. Thank you very much, Yash. Welcome back as well. I came back to one of these live. Yeah. All right. Anywho, welcome guys. I'm assuming there's a raid and something didn't work right with the alert box. It is visible as we just clearly saw, so whatever. I'm not seeing it on my panel, but I'm being told I was raided. So if you're new here, welcome to the stream. I'm Hoenn here. I'm a programmer for Pokemon Showdown, and I'm mostly a self-taught programmer. I'm currently going to college to learn more about that, but a lot of what I do here is I'll do a lot of programming work for Showdown, and right now I'm currently in the middle of a series where I teach people with no prior experience how to program in JavaScript and contribute to an open source Node.js repository. Well, lots of these tips can apply to any open source repository, so you can learn to code and contribute to whatever project you want to. Great way to better something you really love. So, this is day 9. That's a lot of days. You probably want to know where you can catch up on things. This document, the syllabus, will give you all the information you need to catch up on anything that we've done in the past. And the Discord will also be a great place if you're interested in participating. But if you're not sure, feel free to just stick around anyways and see what you could pick up from here. So, um, today is day 9, and the title is JS Standard Library. So, what is the standard library, anyways? Well, the idea is that you have in Node.js at least you can, and like this applies to even browser-based things, you import those differently, but you can import various other pieces of code libraries. Basically to simplify your work. Like on browsers, a lot of times jQuery is used, the jQuery library, to make it a lot simpler to manipulate the document object model. Things we have not done anything with for obvious reasons because we're doing Node.js on a server, not a browser. Meanwhile, something like Showdown, for example, has a library called sock.js, which handles connections between the client and the server. And we use some other development dependencies too, like sucrose for compiling, ESLint for tests and whatnot, all sorts of things like that. Those are libraries that you can import. However, we're looking at the standard library. In other words, this comes with every JavaScript program. You can use these in any JavaScript programming, assuming it's a late enough version of JavaScript. So like if you're using a version of JavaScript from 30 years ago, probably not, but we're talking current JavaScript. So yeah, now then. There's the raid alert. Don't know why that didn't show up at all. Weird. Ah well, I can't even replay it. Anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and just get started on this. So, standard library. Let me go ahead and swap us right into it. Yep, so standard library, there's quite a few things that we can do with this. Specifically, built-in standard libraries on existing data types. So there's a lot of different things you can do with various different ones. So I might split this into a couple streams, 2, maybe 3 if it's that much, but we'll see. All right, so we're going to start by going over some of the math globals. So you might have been wondering um, what all things like in our previous assignments you've seen math.random, math.floor, math.ceil. Those are part of the standard library. Those are part of a global variable called math, and you can use that. Actually, it's a class, but again, we'll get into classes soon. And all those are static properties. I know somebody, I think it was Yash, asked what static properties were a couple streams ago. Um, Either way, we'll get into that soon. Um, Sorry, I had to reply to that. Okay, so standard library. So all these can be accessed with the math global. So like you see here, math dot whatever. So there's two types of things on the math. There's properties, which just it's an object like anything else, so you know what an object property is. You access it like that. And methods, which are basically functions stored in there that do different things. All right. So we're going to go over a couple of these. Like all of these aren't going to be useful. I'm not going to get into super detail on all of them because you're not going to be able to use all of them, or at least most of them you're not going to remember because you're not going to use them very often. But when you do need to use them, Google. If you're not sure if you can do something with a built-in, why not just Google for it? That's how I learned most of these, honestly, as self-taught because the course I took was really bad. And it was a Codecademy course and it covered like almost nothing, but you do need something to teach you even if you're self-taught. Um, but yeah, so for example, these are the properties. The one you'll probably know the most is math.pi, which is quite literally the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. In other words, 3.14159, etc. We all know what pi is. At least I assume so. So like if you wanted to calculate, I think it's the radius or not, I don't even remember the area. Whatever pi r squared is, I think that's the area of a circle. I don't remember. I am not done that in a long time. Thank goodness. And you have other things like math.e, Euler's constant, which I remembered that vaguely from calc, but I don't even remember what the heck it does. And a lot of other things, but yeah, these are all of them are here. This is the MDN page. I'll go ahead and link it if you guys want to poke into that. Methods, so obviously there's some notes here. The trigonomic functions expect or return angles in radians. So yeah, if you're working with one of those, expect radians. Like ABS is absolute value, and then a number of these I don't actually know because I've never used these. Ceil returns the smallest integer greater than or equal to a number. Cosine, exp, floor, don't even know what f round returns the nearest single precision float in representation of a number. Logarithms, max and min returns the largest of 0 or more numbers. So you just stick a bunch of numbers in there as arguments. Again, if you wanted to do that with JS, you could actually, let me just show you guys. Like if you wanted to do that, you could do math.max. And if you had, let's make an array of numbers. Like if you had, just actually separate these with commas properly. If you had all these and you wanted to check which is the max, you could do just like we taught earlier, which will spread it all out as arguments, and it'll return 7 in this case because 7 is the biggest value in that array. But yeah, continuing on there, min is the opposite. So like if we did min instead of max, it would have returned 2, which was the smallest in there. Pow returns base to the exponent. In other words, base being x, exponent being y. So if you did math.pow 2, 2, that would give you 4, 2 to the second power. If you did 5 to the second power, that'd be 25. You can also, all these are links. So like if you were unsure which one is which, you could do this and look into it. So again, base, exponent. Base is the base number. Exponent, exponent's used to raise the base. All that information. MDN is a great site for all of this if you're wondering. Um, okay. Random returns a pseudo-random number between 0 and 1. By pseudo-random, that means it's not actually truly random. That's just how RNG works. You're never gonna... It's complicated. I don't really have the time to explain that. Or, well, actually, more or less, it's less than I don't have the time. It's more I don't have the exact knowledge to explain exactly why it's pseudo-random and not truly random. Round, which is basically instead of floor or seal, this is actual rounding. I'm pretty sure I showed you guys that already. Hex sign, that's really basic. Return the sign of X, indicating whether it's positive or negative. Probably returns true or false. Thank you for the bits again, Yash. Now you're tied with Kai. Really do appreciate that, man. So much going on today, though. Alright. God, the stream seems so quiet to me after all the excitement of sitting with like 20 people screaming because we're winning the tournament. That was like 10 minutes ago. Um, yeah, so round is standard rounding. Sign, honestly, I've never used this. I've just done if value is less than 0, do this, otherwise do this or something, because I don't know what I'd do sign with for. I guess if you can find a good reason to use it, sure. Use your square root, return positive square root of a number. Thank you very much for the bits, Kai. I must be on top. And so you are on the global all-time leaderboard. Then you got a lot of these other things, you know, which is going to give like sine, cosine, etc. If you guys know your trig and whatnot, you know how to use those. If you're looking for the details on them, open them up, and they'll tell you where to put it. Like x representing an angle in radians. It'll give you all the details about what exactly it needs to be. To source, interesting. I don't know why that is like not been standardized. Trunk, etc. So it has quite a few options, and it gives a lot of other details. And MDN is browser-based information, but it's good. It has Node.js here too. Like, show all this information for what it's supported on. And like, as you can see, Internet Explorer doesn't like to support crap. That's why we don't like Internet Explorer, guys. But yeah, so that's math for now. It's pretty simple, not much to say on that exactly. Any questions there while I pull up the next one? There. Well, actually, there's a bit more I need to go over first. My bad. I'm blind and forgot to read the next line. But yeah, I wanted to mention a couple other that aren't attached exactly to the math object, but I do know of them. And there's probably more, so feel free to chime in if you happen to know more and want to tell everyone about them. We have parse int and isNaN, so I'll go ahead and show you guys those. So parse int is, I mentioned way earlier how you wouldn't be able to take user input. Thank you for the follow, Carl Jolson. I mentioned a lot earlier how you wouldn't be able to, usually when you get user input, it's in the form of a string, so you can't do math with it. Well, parseInt is your solution to that, actually. So parseInt will take a string or potentially something else. I've only used it on strings, at least. I could probably look it up real quick. Why don't I just do that? You guys can have a bit war if you want. Yeah, it's actually on the number class. Wonder if I can just go and find the number class here. That would be even more useful. Yeah, why don't we just look at number here? There's probably some things I haven't seen. Alright, so yeah, number class. We'll look at that and we'll get to parseInt as we go through this. So number is a class that represents numbers, basically. Yeah, so there's various properties like max h safe integer, the maximum safe integer in JavaScript, and by safe they mean your calculations won't get screwed up. I don't remember why exactly that happens or what exactly happens. All I remember is don't go over that. And max value, the largest positive representable number, and obviously yeah, that's going to be something you want to not go over, otherwise you're going to have issues again. The computers can only do so much. Min safe integer, min value, etc. Nan, which you know by its keyword, it stands for not a number. You can also, these two, negative infinity, positive infinity, when you overflow in JavaScript, you get that as a response. And yeah, so those are your things. So methods, is nan. You don't actually have to do number before this one, at least. I don't know if you have to do number before any of these. I think you could just stick them right in. I know is nan I can do without number dot. So determine whether the past value is nan. So basically stick is nan something and it'll tell you if that is nan or not, which is great for checking if a calculation you just did that could potentially be nan because one of the values could potentially be not a number, like user input. Like let's say you took user input, attempted to turn it into a number, which we'll get to in a sec, and then tried to use it in math. You might want to check to make sure that actually worked and is not nan, because the last thing we want is, you know, hey, the solution to your math equation is nan. That just doesn't make any sense. Is finite whether the past value is a finite number, which I'm pretty sure just returns true on anything except like infinities. Is safe integer whether it's a safe integer between the bounds of safe. Parse float and parse int. Float basically is the same as parse int except it will allow decimals. And these two will turn strings, or let's look at these. I wanted to check. It takes a string, yes. A floating point number parsed from the given value. If value cannot be converted to a number, nan is returned. And the same thing with parse int, except it returns an integer. In other words, a whole number, no decimals. So that's how you would turn a string into a number. So, for example, let's say we were getting some user input and we had it set to a value like this, and we wanted to do something with that. So we could do something with that. We could do console.log parse int user input times 6, and you would get a response there. You'd get 75 times 6, and whatever the answer to that is what it would log. And if you put something like potato in for user input, you would get nan. So that's how you'd use that. Same thing for float, except it would give you a decimal in return. But yeah, there's quite a few instances. Let's see, methods, instances. Yeah, more of these. So yeah, trying to remember. Right, instances. These you do have to use on a variable contained within a number. These up here are standalone. I'm pretty sure. I know this is, and this is. These I've never actually used, but I'm 90% sure they are valid, and I will double check right now. Like, yeah, they are. Okay, cool. So that's something new for me too. Like, heck, I'm learning stuff here. These have to be used on a variable that contains a number. Let me check to see what the heck is going on here. Shoutouts to JS for having a set type that implements precisely zero set operations. Nice. But yeah, to exponential, that will returns a string representing the number in exponential notation. So if you have a really, really big or small number, you can return it in scientific notation, which can be desirable depending on what exactly you're doing. Obviously, we'd want to check the details here if you actually want to use it. And looks like the arguments are fractional digit optional and integer specifying the number of digits after the decimal points defaults to as many digits as necessary to specify the number. Yeah, so there's that. To fixed, which is going to basically, if you say number, if you have num, let me show you guys, it would be easier to do that. Like if you have num equals 7 point whatever, and you do num.toFixed 2, you'll have to assign it as well. This isn't just going to modify the value of num. And log that. That is going to give you 7.26. Why? Simple. ToFixed will take a number, locate it in a variable, and you'll be able to set it to that many decimal points. It'll just cut off anything extra. It will not round. So if we had this instead and you wanted to round up, it's not going to round. It's just going to give you 7.26, even though that should be 7.27. So there's that. To fix, to local string, return string with language sensitive representation of the number. Number, prototype, to precision, to source, all sorts of other things. To string, that's a way to turn it into a string, is called automatically in a lot of places. So there's a lot of things you could do with the number object as well. So we did math and numbers. Any questions so far? Actually, I don't think fart's around, Yash, now that I think about it. Alright, sure, Leaf. Get some rest. You did good work today. Okay, I'm going to take that as no questions, I don't think. Double check what these pings are. Alright, cool. So I'm going to take that as no further questions, and we're going to continue on then. Let's see. Strings, yes, quite a bit. MDN string. We'll just pull these up as we go. And this will bring up all sorts of things. So, yeah, this will teach you how to use strings, but that is the right page. Alright, cool. So strings, escape notation. You can escape things in a string with a backslash. So like if you backslash on a single quote, that'll give you a single quote that you could put inside of a string, even if the string is not, even if the string is created with single quotes. You only need to escape quotations if you are using the same type of string. So strings delimitator, or however it's called. So like if you wanted to put like isn't and you did this, well, that's an error. Why? Because the string ends here. If you want to put that in there, you either need to change it double quotes. Actually, that is erroring anyways. Well, right, it's because it's screwed up here. Or you need to escape it. So like this escaped is just the single quote character, and down there it works perfectly fine because it's double quotes. Same thing with any of the other ones, the double quote, etc. So continuing from there, double backslash, escape that. These are special. Escaping an N gives you a new line, so your string will be separated by a new line, as if you hit enter in a Word document or something. R is a carriage return, which I don't remember what exactly those are. Vertical tab, again, I don't remember. T, that's a tab character, a hard tab. I know what those are. Don't even know what the heck backspace or form feed are, honestly. U, XXXX, 4 digits, that like that. UTF-16 code unit, that's how you would like represent an emoji. So you would have your code like that. And for 5 or more digits, you would need to enclose it in curly braces like this. It's for the more common ones. So those are those. You can also, if you want to have a long multi-line literal string, you can open it and close it like this and use a backslash at the end of the line to go to the next one. Very long string which needs to wrap across multiple lines because otherwise my code is unreadable. This is the same as doing this, which is also a valid way of doing it. I usually see the former rather than the latter, though. Alright, yada yada yada. Where is my giant list of things? Methods. So yeah, methods, instances, and whatnot. From char code, return a string created but using the specified sequence of Unicode values. These are all standalone, again. But yeah, these aren't very useful, honestly. At least I haven't used them. So, actual properties. So, these are properties that you'd have to use on an actual string contained within a variable. So, dot length, we've talked about that, reflects the length of the string. So, if it's got nothing in it, it's 0. If it's got 36 characters in it, it's 36. This includes spaces, etc. Not sure how this even, not even sure what they mean by n here, because I don't remember a string.n. I got to go early, sadly, but I'll try to catch up when I get the chance to. Thanks for coming, Yash. Alright, methods unrelated to HTML. That's what we need here. So char at returns the character exactly one UTF-16 code unit at the specified index. So string.char at O will return the first item in a string. So for example, if we had this, like this is a command you might see as an example, stir.char at O is going to equal that. That is going to be a true statement. Obviously, I'm not sticking these in any proper syntax. I'm just showing you guys what's going on here. I guess that would technically be an OK line, but it literally does nothing. This is a true statement, though. Continuing on from there. Char code at, we already went over, turns a number that is UTF-16 code unit, the valid index. That'll basically give you the code instead of the character itself. Concat combines two Texas strings into a new string, so you'd have string.concat, whatever the next string is. We already do that with the plus character, so not really anything fancy or new. Includes determines whether one string may be found within another. So if you had like a paragraph stored in a string and you wanted to check if the paragraph contains the word the, you might do paragraph.includes the. The argument you would pass would be the string the. Ends with determines whether a string ends with the character of another string, and there's an equivalent starts with, which does it from the start. It checks if it ends with / starts with the string you provide as an argument to that. Index of returns the index within the calling string object, the first occurrence of the specified value, or -1 if not found. So obviously that's like, what the heck does that mean? So that's going to be a little different. So we're going to create a new string, or we'll just use the same string again. Let's string equal. So like we would use these in commands sometimes. I don't know. Let's say ban bad, something like that. There's a command. So if you want to find, for example, I wouldn't necessarily use index of for this, but I'll use this example anyways. Let's say you want to find where the comma is in this string, and it could be anywhere because you don't know what position it is as. This is position 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can predict it pretty well up to there if it's always just going to be ban. I have no idea how long the person's name's going to be as a programmer. So that's index of lets you find that. It'll return the string index position of that. It's like an array. So like this is slot 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So like string.index of comma will return whatever position this is. And if it doesn't have a comma, it'll return -1. And you could stick an entire thing in here. So like if we did that, it would return the position of this phrase here, not just the other thing. So there's that. Alright. So yeah, -1 or the string in question. Last index of is going to the last occurrence of that index rather than the first, which index of does. Local compare returns a number indicating whether a reference string comes before or after is the same as, I don't even know. Match, that works, and match all regular expression stuff, which we haven't gotten to. Pad end and pad start will pad a string's side with whatever characters. So if you have an empty string and you do like pad start 5 spaces, if you tell it to do that, it's going to add 5 spaces to the start of whatever string you add. So you could, in theory, use that. String.prototype.repeat returns a string consisting of the elements of the object repeated in given times. So that's kind of silly, I guess, but kind of useful in some cases. A lot of these are pretty edge case use, and that's going to be normal with the standard library. A lot of these you may never use. You may only use once or twice, and That's not necessarily a bad thing, but some of these you're going to use a lot, so that's why you need to learn them. Slice extracts a section as a string and returns a new one. So basically, it takes an index. Whatever index you select, anything from that character and forward will be in the new string if you only provide that argument. I think you can also provide two arguments, so anything from the start index up until before the end index will be included in said string. So split is going to split a string into an array of strings by separating the string into substrings, and split is going to do this by having the string basically, like if you have, with the command example again, if you have a comma separated list of arguments, you could do string.split comma, and you would have an array containing a bunch of strings, which is each thing. It doesn't include the actual comma in it or anything like that. So, for example, they have the string, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dogs, and they split on spaces, and that's going to give you an array, words 3, expected output fox, because this is 0, 1, 2, 3. It's all split on spaces. Spaces are also gone as well because they were used to split. And chars equals string.split nothing. That's going to quite literally split it into each character into its own thing in an array. And you're going to have something like that. And that's a little interesting there. But that's the idea of it, at least. Starts with, we went over substring depreciated, use the full substring. Returns a character in a string between two indexes in a string. It's kind of like what I mentioned with slice, so that'll let you just figure out what's between two characters, two index points in a string. To locale, lower and uppercase, or just plain to lower to uppercase. That'll make the string in all lowercase or all caps, which can be useful in certain cases. And there's various other ones here. Trim start, trim left, trim right, trim end, and just plain trim. We'll get rid of any white space to the left slash start or right slash end or both sides of a string, which can be useful if you just want to get rid of any white space before splitting on spaces or something like that. But yeah, there's quite a few things. And then there's a bunch of HTML ones here which aren't even used anymore. They're actually all depreciated, it looks like. So yeah, quite a bit you can do with strings. I'll go ahead and link that in chat. Hi, Scott. But yeah, any questions on strings? Okay. And again, if you guys are asking questions and I'm just missing them, or you just need to keep typing or whatever, go for it. I will be down to keep listening. But yeah, we're gonna drop right into arrays. And yes, there's a lot going on today, honestly. A lot of this is just stuff you're going to have to pick up as we go. So I think for the assignment, which I do need to write later, God, I might ask someone to help me write the assignment just because I don't have too much time. But anyways, assignment, I do still need to write that, and I will be linking these pages in there for your reference. You'll get to research while writing. Can get work done. Okay. Alright. So arrays, obviously we know a number of things about arrays, but we're just looking here to how to the stuff, so I'm just going to skip over. Properties, array.length, which is just like string, but it returns the number of items in the array. You guys know that one, I taught you that one. This is the one I use. Array.isArray. You quite literally type the word array when using these. It's not actually built onto any array. So returns true if the variable you stick in as an argument is an array, or false if not. And array.from, create a new array instance from an array like object or irritable object. And yeah, so that mostly is just array that I use. I haven't used array from much, but I have heard it. Yeah, so methods. These methods are mutator methods, meaning they modify the array itself. Alright, so let's see here. Let's see, copy within. Copies a sequence of array elements within the array. I honestly do not know what they mean by that one. It's one I haven't touched. Fill fills all the elements of an array from the start index to the end index with a static value. So you have an array containing 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill with 0 from position 2 until position 4. So what you want to fill, start position, end position, replaces it with that. So that's what you get there. You get the arrays 1, 2, 0, 0. Fill with 5 from position 1, which is going to do it from there to the end. Or just plain 6, it's going to do all 6. It's the idea of fill. Pop. This one's fun. Now you're actually going to learn how to manipulate and work with an array, because we kind of need this to actually do stuff with an array. So array.pop. You have your array. Plants, in this case, it contains a bunch of things like broccoli. So pop is going to get the last item from the array and pop it off, as in it's going to find it and take it out of the array. It's gone. So expected output tomato, and then if we log plants after that, expected output, it doesn't have tomato in it anymore. It's all those in the same order except tomatoes. And if you pop again, you don't even have to keep, you could just do like literally this to get rid of one. It goes down again. It removes the last element from the array and returns that value. So there is actually another version of that, which is shift, which removes the first element from an array and returns it. So if you use shift on this instead of pop, you would get broccoli, and if you used it again, you get cauliflower. Same kind of setup. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have push and unshift. So in this case, we have 3 animals: pigs, goats, sheep, stored in an array in that order. Animals.push cows. Push will return the index, or no, the length of the array, actually, not the index. So animals.push cow, the array now has 4 in it, and if you log animals, you'll now see that there's a new element on the end. That's what push does. Same thing with this. It added chickens. Now it's got another one, 5. It's length of 5 now. So that's how you add an item to the end of an array. And unshift is the opposite. It adds it to the front. So if we took this and did unshift cows, it would be in the order of cows, pigs, goats, sheep. So those are those. Those are how you really manipulate data there. Those are very useful, and you'll be using those a lot, as well as looping over data to review it. These are all mutator though, so remember they modify. Reverse will reverse the order of an elements in an array in place. The first becomes the last becomes the first, so forth. So if you have an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that order, and you use reverse on it, it'll be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in that order. Sort. Sort is one that I can never remember how to use properly, so I always like to come to this page. But sort is going to sort the elements of an array and return the sorted results. So for example, we start with an array called months. Contains March, January, February, December in that order, the last 3 being abbreviated. So if you run sort on it and then log what month is, you're going to get it in the order December, February, January, March. Why in that order? Well, because it's alphabetical by default. That includes with numbers, it's default alphabetical. 0 comes before 1, 10, etc., and that all comes before letters, I believe. And numbers, it's gonna, yeah, like, look at this, it's by numbers, so this is the problem with it, like 1, 34, 21, 10,000, it seems. If you wanted to sort this in the order and you expected the order of 1, 4, 21, 30, 10,000, not quite. You got your 10,000 over here because it's alphabetical sorting, not actual math sorting here. So array.sort will sort your array, and if you want to make it actually work appropriately, you'll have to use a compare function as one of the arguments. So it takes a compare function as its only argument optionally. So the idea of it is you need to pass a function into there, takes two arguments a and b, and what will happen is, if I can find where it says that, if the function that you're using returns a value less than 0, so like -1, A will come before B in your array, sorted array. If it returns 0, they will not be shifted in respect to each other. So if they're like equal or equivalent in whatever criteria you're looking at, let's return a value of 0. And if the function returns a positive value, sort B to a greater index than A. In other words, B comes first. And of course, if you sort, I believe if you sort, like, some of them return 2, some return 1, I believe that has an effect too. This function must always return the same value when given a specific pair of elements as its arguments, otherwise inconsistent results are returned. In other words, it doesn't work right if you like just run math.random -1 or something. But yeah, you're going to get all sorts of things like that. So like sort numbers, literally A minus B. So simple enough there at least. So that's a number, that's our mutator. So those will modify your array. All the ones we've been over will modify the array you run these on, and these have to be run on an array containing a variable, unlike the array.isArray, which just use the actual array class name. Accessor methods do not modify the array and return some representation. In other words, they do something with it and give you some data. So concat returns a new array that is just this array that you based it on joined with the other arrays or values. So if you like do if you do have an array containing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you use concat on it and pass in the argument for concat an array containing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you'll end up with an array with the numbers 1 through 10 in that order. Simple enough, combines two arrays, it's useful in some circumstances. Includes, it's like string.includes, but it checks if the array contains a value that contains whatever argument you pass. So if you have an array that contains, once again, numbers 1 through 10 and you do array.include 7, it'll return true, otherwise false. However, if you had like a array containing, we'll go back to the animals example they gave earlier, all those 5 animals, and you checked for PI or something, which is part of the word pigs, technically, while string.includes on a variable containing the word pigs would give you a truthful return. Array.includes would not, because it does not see an array, a value inside the array that is literally just the word pi, math pi. So yeah, be careful of that. Index of, it's basically string.index of. It's like includes as well. Works like includes with those changes, but otherwise works like the string version. Will return -1 if it can't find it in the array. Otherwise, will return the array index. So 0 for the first, 1 for the second, so forth. Join will return an array as a string. Now, this doesn't modify the array, so your array will still exist. So if you want to keep that string, you'll have to assign the result of this to a variable. But like if you do array.join comma, it'll join all the items in the array together into a string, and each of the array items within that string will be separated by a comma. Very, very useful. Last index of, basically index of, but looks for the last index in an array. Slice extracts selection just like with a string. A lot of these are similar. Yeah, so. And then irritation methods. Several methods take arguments as function to be called back while processing. These are basically for looping, and I don't actually use many of these at all. Let's see here. Which one of these do I actually know about? let's see, every, this one's kind of useful, returns true if every element in this array satisfies the testing function. So you'd pass a function as an argument, and that function would take a single argument that contains whatever thing you're testing from the array, and you would return true or false depending on whether you feel this array passes whatever, this value passes whatever criteria you want. Otherwise, it returns false if your array did not pass every single test. So continuing from there, filter will create a new array, but in filter takes a function as an argument. Again, a lot of these will take functions as arguments, which will contain, once again, that function takes in whatever whichever actual item for the array it's checking. And then you can do, whatever you want in that function, but you need to return true or false when you're done with that. So by whatever testing criteria you want, return true or false. If you return true, it keeps the item. If you return false, it ditches it. This again this is not a mutator method, so it does not modify the pre-existing array. You will have to assign the return value of array.filter to a new variable. Find returns the found value in the array if the element set in the array specifies the provide function, yada yada yada. So actually I don't even know find well. So for each calls a function for each element in the array. I've seen that used sometimes. Keys, actually I haven't seen that outside of object. Map, this one I muck around with quite a bit. Again, takes a function, single argument, whatever it's currently doing for the element in the array it's currently working on. Whatever value you return from that function, it will change. It'll return that value in the new array it returns will be like that. So I'll give an example with this one. Let's say I already declared this, so I'm just going to do this. Let's say we have an array of like a bunch of, let's just say we have a bunch of numbers that are located within strings. So like this, we could do console.log r.map, and we'll just have, I'll create a variable called n. Well, I guess you guys, I like to use arrow functions for this. So if you're wondering what this is, it's basically a nicer way to declare a function within this. But I will do it cleanly so you guys get it. I will do it this way so you guys get it at least. So function x, this function will take an argument of x. It's not named or anything. And so we're going to return parse int x times 2. So we're going to take each value of this array, turn it into a number, and then multiply it by 2. So in this case, r should return 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's what it should be when we log this. So that might be a bit confusing. Feel free to throw questions at me if you do, of course. But yeah, that seems simple enough here. Sum returns true if at least one element in this array passes the provided testing function. It's basically every and sum are basically giant. If all these, like every, it's like a giant and. It checks if this element after running through this function is true, and this one, and sum is this one, or this one, or this one, etc. Reduce, I feel like I should know this one, so why don't we take a look here. Alright, so we have an array reducer equal, this is a function actually. This is a very simple way to write the function. But arguments, keyword start the function, the return value without even a return keyword if you're curious. So array.reduce reducer, that's going to, let's see, accumulator. Obviously it takes that, so I'm guessing accumulator is going to be whatever you're currently storing as the value. And current value is going to be the current value in the array. Actually, I don't think I'm getting this. Reducer function takes 4 arguments: accumulator, current value, current index, source array. Accumulator accumulates the callback's return values. It is the accumulated value previously returned in the last invocation, a callback or initial value if provided. So like here it's going to be 0 when we first start, and then it's with our addition, and it's going to become 0 plus 1, then 1 plus 2, and 1 plus 3, and 1 plus 4. So yeah, 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 10, unless I'm crazy. So that does make sense. This is a bit iffy. What's the second thing? Current value, the current element being processed in the array. I believe it takes that stuff. Okay, what's initial value? Right. Okay, this here is the initial value. That's what it's doing within the reducer is this function, this entire thing, and then 5 is the initial value. So instead of being 0 plus 1 plus 2, I'll make this more clear. It's going to start with 5 instead of 0 to give us this. Technically, it's not a 0. Technically, it's just undefined until it gets set to whatever the first thing that returned is, which is 1. But yeah, you could use like a string or whatever for this, and my god, I'm on that thing still. Okay. But yeah, that's the idea of reduction, of a reducer. Does anyone have questions on arrays and their standard library in JavaScript, or anything else? Let's see. Nor can I. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that you can't attend. Oh yeah. But yeah. So that's that, and I believe the last thing we have to go over is MDN object. So breaking news, guys. Objects. Everything is an object in JavaScript. Yeah, it's quite a thing, but alright, so there's quite a few things you can do with these, a number of them at least, but we're going to manipulate objects a bit here with their standard library. All these are based off of the object keyword, so you need to do object.whatever. So object.assign copies the values of all enumerable owned properties from one or more source objects to a target object. So what does that mean in English, please? So let's take a look here. So we have two variables that are objects: target, which contains A, B, and source, which contains B and C as properties. On target, A is equivalent to 1 and B is equivalent to 2, and source, B is equivalent to 4 and C is equivalent to 5. So return target equal object.assign target source. So what that's going to do, if you log the value of target, you're going to see an equivalent thing here actually. This is going to modify your object, so be careful of that. It's going to return A1, B4, C5. So why? What happened here? Well, object.assign takes two objects as arguments: the target object to assign to and the source to assign from. It will take all the properties from source and send them into target. It will put them on target. So, for example, source had C5, target did not. So target now has C5. So, okay, interesting. But what happened with B? Target had B2, source had B4. We can see the result has B4. If source and target have a property, source is going to overwrite target's property, the target object's properties. So like that. Thank you, Mr. Jelly Pringles. I appreciate the encouragement. And welcome to the stream as well. This one can be a little tricky here. Most notably here for you guys, thank you for the follow as well, Mr. Jelly Pringles. Alright, so most notably here is that target was modified, like I mentioned. So you might be thinking, is that supposed to happen? Yes, it is. So when you muck with an object, you're going to have to be careful with that. I got to show you guys what can happen with objects and all the mess that can go into cloning them and whatnot. More or less, for a basic idea here, I will show you this. If we create an object called O and we set it to, that's 9, not O. We'll just do this same kind of idea. And we create a new object called O2 and set that to O. And then we do O2 dot C equal 5 and console.log. Oh, well, that's going to actually show that O has a C property. You might be saying, but wait, that doesn't make any sense. Why would that happen, Holland? Well, it's pretty simple. Geez, I forgot what I was going to say. It's JavaScript's like that. It's if you set this is a reference to the object. It's just pointing to wherever that object is in your data in your memory. So when you set O2 to O, you're basically saying, okay, O2 now refers to the exact same object. So no matter which variable you use to make changes to it, it's going to show up in the other ones. So for example here, we get this response here, and I didn't mean to do that. A1, B1, C5. So if we head back into our thing, you'll see down here, we set A and B to 1 in O. We set O2 equivalent to O. When they're both references. We set O2.C equal 5 and then logged O. You might think it's separate, but it's not. So you do have to be careful with that when you're working with your objects. Don't fall into that trap. And that's one of those things that you honestly, I'm going to be honest, you're probably going to fall into it at least once or twice. So don't feel bad if you screw up with it or something. It's just something that's going to happen, probably. Just, learn to debug from it and learn from your mistakes, because honestly, I think experience is one of the best teachers, and that's why I want you guys to do your assignments and whatnot, because that gets you guys going here. And if you aren't doing that stuff and aren't really trying to actually work with your code that you're just learning, you're not going to get much out of it. Perfect example is me learning Java from my college course. I did CSIS 212 in the second subterm of the spring semester this year, and I just started my D subterm for fall. I'm doing 312, which is the second course for Java. They build on each other. And I've forgotten not everything, because a lot of stuff is similar to JavaScript, thankfully, but a number of things I spent a lot of this week reviewing. So, yeah, honestly, I do not want to make that mistake again, and will most likely pick up a personal Java project after I finish this course for myself. So that'll be my special thing. And for you guys, you could do something yourself. You could contribute to an open source project. You could contribute to Showdown. We're always looking for more Showdown contributors. But yeah, so don't fall into that trick with objects and object.assign. That's why it acts like that. They're now the same object. Or target is, at least. I don't know what happens with source exactly. Object.create. Yeah, that one's a little complicated. You might see like object.create null. Let me double check this one. I honestly don't do that. I literally just use the explicit person here, like how person is declared. So me equal object.create person. I guess that would create an alternate copy of it if you wanted to create a copy of person. Yeah, that's what it would do there. And if you just, I see object.create null, I don't. It's a good way to, basically it prevents, it's one of those things used for anti-copy. Hey, Mighty Nico, welcome to the stream. Let's see, what else we got here? Define properties, all sorts of these that I don't exactly know much about since I don't work with these. Object.entries, this is one I do know. Turns an array containing all of the key value pairs of a given objects own enumerable string properties, and we'll get to what they mean by own in a little bit here. I checked on PS and you were streaming, so yeah, well, welcome to the stream, man. Um, I usually aim to stream around this time nightly, except for Mondays, because I'm usually busy on Mondays, and I don't think next Monday is going to be any different. It'll probably clear up like when I get to, there'll probably be like 1 week in October where it's clean, and December will be okay, but yeah, not usually good there. Anywho, let's see here. Entries. So returns an array containing all the key value pairs of a given object's own properties. So what does it mean by that? Key is what we call properties. I did explain that it's sometimes called a key. So like in our little example here with O, with what O is, and we'll just, use the modified. So we have A1, B1, C5. The keys would be A, B, and C, and the values would be 1, 1, and 5 in that order. So if we just console.log object.entries, oh, no, VS Code, you're not being helpful. We'll end up with this, which is exactly what it is. It's a two-dimensional array. The values within the array are also arrays. Just finished helping with an event on Wi-Fi, so figured I could watch streams and stuff. Oh, that's cool. What event was going on in Wi-Fi? I know Bumba and Anubis do stuff there, or at least used to. I don't involve myself in Wi-Fi much other than that. I don't know who it was. Some annoying user who got permalock just wouldn't stop trying to appeal a blacklist. Anywho. Oh, cool. I think someone came into the help room, or no, they tried to PM me to try to get me to do stuff about that. Something about them. I don't remember what the issue was. I just told them to PM Wi-Fi staff. Obviously, I have no control over it, anyways. Yeah, this sounds pretty nice, honestly. But yeah, you're gonna end up with this kind of thing. Keys first, followed by values, and they're all going to be their own individual arrays. So this array, the first value of this array, if this was in a variable called A and you did AOO, you would get the letter A, and AO1 would be 1, and so forth. So there's that. And if you guys do have questions, feel free to drop them as we go. I will answer them and constantly check chat. Freeze. Freeze is an object. Other code can't delete or change any properties. I have not used this one myself again, but I believe it's basically the same as making an object completely constant. Let's see. From entries, I'm going to skip some of these that I don't know, but you guys should feel free. I'm going to link the array ones and number one in chat now because I haven't done it yet. But feel free to just pop in anytime to check these out, and I will switch back because I almost forgot. What are you learning in college right now, Mighty Nico? It might be quite similar. Heck, you might even be learning JavaScript. If you're learning Java, it's actually very similar. I'm doing that too. Multimedia integration. I actually haven't heard of that. Tell me about that. Or tell me whatever you know. I know you only started last Monday, so it's still probably pretty early, but tell me what you do know about it, I'm curious. And I'll keep talking and check in with that as we go. So a lot of Git own this, Git own that, and whatnot. So I suppose what I can do is explain what own properties now are. So we go over here and we look at O. Like if you want to, you can look at it whether it includes the C value or whatnot. But O, at least on line 24, contains two properties, A and B, that we can see. And you might think that's it. Well, there actually are a few other things that O contains. And like I've mentioned this when talking to some people about when reviewing the Pokemon and route assignments. That it's not completely error proof, but that's fine because I haven't taught this stuff yet, really. There are some values that are in every object, so like o.constructor, which, geez, I can't spell it, but it's something. So like if I go ahead and console.log o.constructor, that is going to give me a return value actually, and we'll get into classes and whatnot for that. But yeah, see, function object, it is a truthy value. It's a thing. So if you just try to check if a value, if a function, if your object has that, it's not exactly right. It's not an own property though. It's not exclusive to that. Own properties are the things we define. So like A and B and C on this object are own properties. They're owned by that specifically. All right, let's see what this is. It's a multimedia multitude, jeez, of classes like programmation. Learning how to use 3D Photoshop. One of the classes that's kind of something similar. Interesting. Okay. But yeah, this is basically programming. Yelling at computers and telling them what to do with angry words. But yeah, if you have any questions about stuff, I'd be happy to try to explain the differences between whatever you're doing and this stuff, especially if you're curious and really are interested in getting into this stuff. Honestly, I feel that programming software, especially things like being able to completely design software and such, that's really in demand, honestly. So if that's something that interests you and you really enjoy, then that's a great thing to do. Though, before anyone asks, I do want to encourage, if it's really hard or not interesting for you, it might be better to do something else. Not everything's about the money. That's my take on it, at least. I just really do enjoy programming myself. It's like a passion for me. So I can't think of myself doing anything else, even if this wasn't something that was in demand, honestly. But yeah, we'll go ahead and stick a semicolon onto there so I don't get yelled at by someone. And we'll head on back into here. Still learning, though. I'm not the best. That's fair. That's a good thing to admit, honestly. That's a very good thing. You don't want to. I saw some graph at some point that someone linked me, like really early into my career. It shows confidence level compared to skill level of anyone learning a new occupation. It just, it all starts at 0 on both, and then as you get a little bit of information, your just confidence skyrockets to some huge high level, and then it peaks off at a point, and it's marked on the map as Mount Stupid because you know almost nothing still, and then it just rockets down, and not as fast as it went up initially, and turns into like a parabola, eventually coming back up to where you were, but that's after like a huge amount of experience where you actually are that smart. So yeah, uh, it's good to know you're not the best and to keep that in mind, that you always have more to learn and such. So that's a good thing. I have a lot more to learn myself. So I'm just happy to be able to pass on what I do know, and I'm happy when other people come in here and say, "Hey, Hohen, you're doing this stupid and wrong." Anyways, I think I've ranted on that a little bit too much, potentially. But yeah, own property. Um, some of these, I don't know what all these are exactly. Honestly, I've never used any of these specifically. Um, get own property is the only one I think has own property is the one I know of. Not sure where that is actually. Where is has? Oh, right, that's on the actual thing. So like, if we wanted to with this constructor thing, console.log o.has own property constructor, that is going to return false because it's not an own property. False. So yeah, there's that handled for you guys. All right, cool. I'm going to skip those though because I don't know exactly what they do here. You can always, go to the link, which I'll post in a sec, and open them up and look yourself. Feel free. Object.is compares if two values are the same value, equates all nan, which differ from blah blah blah. I don't even know what that is, honestly. Is frozen determines if an object was frozen, if it was sealed. I don't know. Keys, this one I do know. God, there's a lot that I don't know. Um, Object.keys, whatever object, some object is the argument, returns an array containing all the names of the given object's own enumerable string properties. So we go back to our example object here, which has A, B, and C as own properties. If you do object.keys O or O2, you're going to get an array containing A, B, and C, the strings, which are its keys. Entries, like we saw above, is going to give you a multi-dimensional array with each entry in the base array being another array, and those individual arrays being a key and then that key's value. You can replace the word key with property, though it's called keys a lot too, so it's good to know both. Keys just returns the keys, and I believe values is the opposite and just returns the values if you want to loop through those, and entries gives you both. So plenty of ways to muck around with them and have whatever fun you want to do with them and break your computer or whatever. That's my favorite job. Break the computer and all the servers. Not intentionally, of course. That's a joke, I suppose. Object.seal prevent other code from deleting properties of an object, which, once again, the is sealed thing is like frozen. So I guess you could do that, so only allow it to add properties. Values, again, that is what I said. I am correct there. It's the opposite of keys. It's the values instead of the keys. So constructor again, yeah, that's one. Like I said, this is not an own property. It exists on there. Proto, no such method, things like that. All sorts of other things. So we'll skip the depreciated ones. Has own property. We just talked about that one. I don't even know prototypes myself. I'm not going to touch those. ToString returns a string representation of the object. You could define that yourself and return a way to show the object as a string if you wanted to. But yeah, there's plenty of ways to do this, and I will link this in chat now for you guys. So any questions on objects and standard library or anything at all like that? Or questions of any kind at all, honestly. I'm just happy to sit down and talk. And I will double check nobody's posting on Discord. Let's see here. Doesn't seem there's anything in there. I don't see anything here. Alright, cool. Oh, live on Discord too. Yes, I have a Discord server I monitor because a lot of the people come from Showdown and don't exactly watch Twitch at all times. So that's a great place to go if you're like the stream and you want to see more. There's a role that you can get that I ping every time I start any stream. And there's also the student role if you're interested in doing the class. There's the document. Discord also has all the links to prior streams, so you can catch up on all 8 days that you haven't been here for if you really wanted to. Heck, they'll be around at all times, so even if you like wanted to do it in like a year or something, unless they somehow get taken down or something, which I would doubt, it should be up there to go whenever you feel like it. It goes for anyone else too. And of course, if you do want to see more content, there's the Discord, like I said, and you can also follow notifications. How do I even watch you on Discord? Oh, you meant watch me? Nah, you can't. I don't stream on Discord. I use it as basically a place for all the students and other people who are interested in my streams to hang out and get notifications for when I go live. Again, a number of them do not actually sit on Twitch all day or whatever, so they'll miss me if I don't ping them somewhere else like Discord. It's a good place for that, honestly. It's also where I talk to my subs in their chat or whatever. We talk about things like emotes that I need to do. I do have one emote pending, and I want it to be done, but Twitch is being slow as per usual, I'm told. Ah, well, it'll have to wait. I'll show you guys when it's done. Yeah, that's only for games though, rather than any sort of streaming, and I have to be in a Discord voice channel for that. So, yeah, I don't think that'll actually do much of anything, at least. No, it's available for anyone. It's in select servers, not just Nitro. unless that is you can stream anything. Like, I don't think like what you do for regular Twitch stream or YouTube stream or whatever is you have things set up in an open version of open broadcast software or something like that. You could set up scenes and whatnot. So like I have this scene, the start scene, and all sorts of things like that. Um, I can switch between them easily and modify them. There are multiple layers. Like there's the alert boxes, which will cause a notification to appear on the stream and a sound to play if someone, for example, follows, gives bits, subs, raids, whatever. Anything I've set up and enabled. Um, you also see the chat showing up on stream. Again, I do that. I do that specifically so that people can see what's being said in the chat, even if they're looking back at the video a lot later, and not on Twitch, because, again, Twitch will only keep these for 14 days, and I want them kept permanently. So I do have to set them out a bit. But yeah, so it's many different layers. I'll probably show you guys at some point, maybe. We'll see. Let's see here. I think we've covered everything for today so far. I see you there, Jack. I didn't know Jack watched, actually. And Kraken. I guess Kraken's not here, though. He told me he's not. But anyways, thank you guys for showing up. I think we're going to cut here, and unless anyone has any questions on this stuff, and head off and raid someone, maybe someone developing a cool game or something, probably. I always like seeing what people develop for games and interacting with them and whatnot. That's something I prefer to do. So I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll keep an eye on the chat. So if you have a question, feel free to throw it in, or if you're more comfortable talking to me in private, you could PM me on Discord or whatever. So, up to you. Let me see here. No one that I've previously thought was good is online right now, so I'm gonna have to find someone new. Preferably in English too. Unity 3D programming. Okay, that's interesting. That looks good.
And these two become a set, right? So all of these become scene.
Sure, we'll see what this is. Alright, cool. So, anyways, again, thank you for coming on today, guys. Normally, if you're here for the first time, I normally stream. Sorry about that. I had to quickly answer a question. But okay, I completely lost my train of thought. Right. Okay, there we go. So, end of stream thing. Thank you for coming, guys, and thank you very much for the bits, Yash. I really do appreciate that, and Kai, I also appreciate your bit. Um, every little bit counts, quite literally. And thank you for the follows to Carl, Josen, and Mr. Jelly Pringles. If you want to go ahead and head off and follow with me, thank you very much for the follow as well, Mighty Nico. You could turn on notifications to get notified as stream starts, and my normally stream myself working for Pokemon Showdown or something related to that, or Smoggin, or a personal project. And right now it is, of course, interrupted because I'm doing these classes all the way through to the end. So, yeah. I don't have anything specific planned, but other than something in November. But that's November. It's a little far off. So we'll talk about that more later. Again, notification ways is follow and turn on notifications, or join the Discord and ask for the stream notifications role. You can also, if you're on PS and you just don't want to do either of those, you could just click my name and see if my Twitch link is in as my status, because that's how that means I'm streaming, or I forgot to remove it. one or the other. You can easily check. But yeah, thank you very much for coming today, guys. I appreciate it as usual. And let's go ahead and we'll give this guy a shot. Why not? It looks somewhat interesting, like he's doing something interesting with a game. Looks like it's got a hexagon. It's in Unity. So we'll see what he's doing. We'll go ahead and get started with this raid here. So yeah, again, thanks guys. Um, can't wait to see you guys back later. We will be aiming for a stream on Tuesday as well. So until then, see ya.